Hello, my name is Lana Chikhungu and I'm the course leader for the MSc International Development at University of Portsmouth. I'm in the School of Media Studies, History, Politics and Literature. So I'm here to explain to you what are the entry requirements for the course, how we conduct the course, what you can expect in terms of the teaching, the content, who is going to teach you, the assessment that you go through, but also how we support students in general, and the preparation for your careers. How do we support students to prepare themselves for the careers, but also the potential to improve their careers if they're already working. Okay, so in terms of entry requirements, you might have read, maybe if you went on the course website, that we do require a 2:2 degree, undergraduate degree in a relevant qualification. So the question that most people ask is what is the relevant qualification? Obviously, that's the logical question. So a relevant qualification is any social science degree. So we're talking about the most direct relevant is obviously if you've done a degree in development studies or international development. That's obviously a complete match. So if you have a 2:2 in that particular kind of a degree, obviously that would be a straightforward case. But then other social science degrees that are pretty closely associated with international development, international relations, politics, sociology. It could be psychology as well, where obviously the issues of people-centeredness are concerned. So it's a discipline that is concerned with society. So economics is part of that as well. So if you think your degree obviously is a social science degree, which involves working with the people at a societal level, then obviously that is a match. The degrees that are not closely associated or not closely considered to be linked or aligned with international development will be like if you did like medicine, science, or engineering, or you just studied mathematics. Also, if you just studied the language on its own without incorporating any social science subjects in it, that will be obviously a bit problematic in terms of you understanding and finding it easy to grasp the content on this course. So what we require for students that don't have the relevant degree is that they should have work experience in the field of international development or development in general. So you might have done some charitable work, or you might have worked maybe in the civil service where you're actually doing a public service. Anything that obviously involved you working with the people, helping and supporting society will be seen as relevant experience that will be strong enough to support your application. You also need to provide a personal statement. So a personal statement is a requirement for all applications, but it's all very important, especially if your degree was not that relevant. So showing that you do understand clearly what the course involves, what the content involves, so that we are comfortable to say, okay, if this particular student did this course, they actually very much aware on the kind of content that they'll be going through, and they have a clear idea on the career pathway that this course is going to help them achieve. Okay, so we also provide recognition for prior learning. So this is a situation where you've noticed that actually some of the modules that we cover are a match in terms of learning outcomes to a module that you took in a previous course. So it could be an undergraduate course or a master's course, or it could be maybe one of maybe postgraduate certificate, and you covered that particular module content already. So what you need is at the application stage, you need to indicate that you actually want to be exempted from taking a particular module. So you complete a particular form, and then once exempted, it means you will do less than number of credits. So for you to complete the MSc, you're supposed to complete 180 credits. So assuming maybe there's one module, one taught module, which you are exempted from doing, that will mean that you only do 150 credits, but still be awarded the MSc International Development. Okay, so here's the International Development teaching team. We have Professor Tamsin Bradley. She teaches on the Education and Development module, which is the optional module, which is offered in the second teaching block. She's a professor in international development studies, most specifically focusing on issues of gender and violence against women, and her research is mostly being undertaken in Africa and South Asia. Isabel Cheng, a senior lecturer in international development and East Asian studies. She teaches on 2 optional modules, facing up to the challenges of transitional justice, which is a TB1 module, and the migration and human insecurity, a TB2 module. Her specialty is migration and gender. So myself, Lana Chikhungu, I am a senior lecturer in international development, and I teach on 3 modules. The 2 core modules I coordinate: the theory and practice of development, the applied research methods of development, and then the optional module is the population health and development. So I'm going to explain the course structure later on so you understand a bit more the content. So my specialty is maternal health and child health, but also gender issues. So basically, so far as you can see, the team is quite focused in terms of the research on issues of gender. However, Dr. Ben Ghana focuses his research on Latin American democratization, but also issues of culture. So he is also a senior lecturer in international development, and he contributes to the teaching of the theory and practice of development, which is the core module. Professor Pierre belongs to the Portsmouth Business School, but obviously part of the ID teaching team. He teaches on the optional module called Economics of Development, which is an optional module which is offered in teaching block number 2. His specialty is economics and environmental issues, especially in the Latin America. Dr. Otis Mbaiwa is a teaching fellow in international development, and he teaches 3 modules. He teaches the Gender for Development Cooperation, an optional module offered in teaching block number 1, and he also contributes to the teaching of the 2 core modules, the theory and practice of development and the applied research methods for development. His specialty is gender as well, and he's done some work on bride price in Zimbabwe, but also in the diaspora. Dr. Monica Riera is a senior lecturer in international development, and she is the coordinator for the dissertation module. So I will explain a bit more about the dissertation module, and her expertise is culture and the cities. So basically, she's mostly just working on the coordination of the dissertations. Professor Andy Thorpe is the professor in economics. He is also in the Portsmouth Business School, but doing a lot of teaching, most especially on the supervision of dissertations that are relevant to economics and environmental issues, that is the area of his specialty. Okay, so we have 2 course structures at the moment. You can either choose to do this course over a 2-year period of time. So that would be a part-time structure, and or you can do it in 1 year as a full-time student. Both course structures involve either starting in September or in January. So in January, it's more like January-February start. Okay, so just to show the course structure, how it is basically. So if you start in September as a full-time student, this is the course structure that you're going to follow. In blue are the core modules, and as you can see, you have modules being offered in teaching block number 1, that is September to December, and the other ones in teaching block number 2, February to May. Okay, so for the September status, you start with the theory and practice of development, and then along with that, you choose one of the optional modules. So as you can see, these optional modules are very much aligned with the sustainable development goals within the theme of international development, but also global development. So we have the gender for development, population health and development, and the facing up to the challenges of transitional justice offered in teaching block number 1. So you choose one module, and then in your second teaching block, you have to do the core module of the applied research methods for development and choose one amongst those 3, the migration and human insecurity, economics of development, and education and development. So along with that, you're doing your dissertation year-long project. You've started working on it. You've identified your topic. You're getting supervision from your dissertation supervisor all throughout the time. Okay. So although students start straight away, it is mostly when they actually complete the taught content in May, when they are sort of like have maybe a bit more time to engage with their dissertation. But for those who actually plan to start to collect their data for their dissertation, which is a bit challenging for full-time students, they would need to have already maybe completed like their ethics application around January, and plan to start collecting their data maybe in February, March. So if you're a part-time student, it's a bit of like easy going. Yeah, so in your first year, you only take 2 modules, the core modules, the theory and practice of development in the first teaching block, and then applied research methods for development in the second teaching block. And when you come in your second year, you're going to select 2 optional modules, one in the first teaching block and another in the second teaching block. But at the same time, you've already started working on your dissertation. For the February start, you just like flip things around. So basically, you are now starting in teaching block number 2. So you start with the applied research methods for development. Okay, and you choose an optional module from the list of modules available in teaching block number 2. And then obviously, because you are a full-time student, you have started working on your dissertation, you are going to do a lot of work in the middle of your year. In June, July, August, you're going to do a lot of work in your dissertation, so that when you come back in September to complete your 2 other modules, the core module of theory and practice of development and one of the optional modules, you are not going to have too much work to complete. So your dissertation will be due in December. So at the same time, to be like at the same time that you're working on your theory and practice of development core module and one optional module, you're also working on your dissertation. Okay, so for part-time, it's a similar situation like part-time September, that in the first year, you're only doing the 2 core modules. Okay, starting with the applied research methods for development, and then the theory and practice of development later in teaching block number 1, and in your second year you've already picked your you pick your 2 optional modules and you're working on your dissertation. Okay, so another question that is commonly asked is how many hours of study should a student expect to allocate to the course per week? As a guide, we say 20 hours of study per unit or per module every week. And each unit is 30 credits, and the 30 credits represent 300 notional hours. Okay, and with that notional hours, when it's translated into actual number of hours that a student is meant to dedicate to study, is 25 hours. Looking at it, it's obviously, if you want to make sense of this, you might say, okay, it looks like it's 2 full days, obviously with a day being comprised of 24 hours a day. You could break it up to say, okay, it means that I have to work 2 full days. However, if you look at it that way, it does seem to be a bit much on the higher side. I would expect 1 day could be adequate, but obviously we do have different backgrounds. So if this is the material that is being covered is something that is well conversant, we are well conversant with, or you've studied before, or you're finding it easy to understand, obviously you might take a fewer number of hours. And there could be a situation, maybe it's been a long time since you did this particular kind of studying, and it's taking a long time for you to understand things. So potentially you might actually need the 2 days. Okay, so so this is just a guide on the higher side, I should say. And for some people, they could even take maybe half a day to cover the content of one particular module. So if you are a full-time student and you're taking the 2 modules plus a dissertation, you are definitely going to require more than 2 days, so maybe 3 or 4 days of dedicated study. Okay, so students also sometimes ask about if they're working. So if you're doing a part-time, if you've gone for the part-time course structure, potentially you could work full-time. But if you've chosen the full-time course structure, I think it is difficult to actually combine with a full-time job. You might do a part-time job in that kind of situation. Okay, there are a variety of assessments. We have the usual essay, which most of you must have done as part of your undergraduate degree or other courses that you've done before. We also do reports, like country reports or regional reports, which I think is pretty relevant to the work of international development. And the other one is a policy brief linked to the module population health and development. So this is where students are expected to read research articles and then evaluate them and make some policy recommendations in a language that can be easily understood by policymakers. We also do a discussion forum, and this is linked to the core module of theory and practice of development. And it's a good way of getting students to engage with each other, engage with the content, but also get the opportunity to understand the views of others and share their own experiences and intellectual awareness and abilities. Okay, so it's like learning from each other. So there's a question that is posted on the virtual learning platform, and students are expected to make a comment and share their views in a professional academic way and with supporting pieces of literature. And that is something that is assessed. Students have to submit their contribution for assessment. Students also do the social enterprise project, which is a part of the core module, and it's an assessment that is based on it's linked to the international community development. So it is used to introduce students to the work of community development and an alternative to other, maybe I would say, interventions that developing countries do have, like through aid or maybe the private sector. The social enterprise project basically is involving work that combines international community development involvement and but also with an entrepreneurship aspect attached to that. The data analysis project is linked to the applied research methods for development. Students are given a task to analyze quantitative data and using the statistical skills that they've learned over the course, apply those skills and then interpret their findings. It's a new skill. It's an important skill to get, and although some find it think that maybe it could be challenging at the beginning, they do actually find that it's very much doable, and most students do very well. Okay, so if you want more information on assessment, I can share you a link on the module website, which provides information about the assessment, but also the full content, who is teaching the learning outcomes, and what you can expect to get from each and every module. Overall, the maximum number of words for each module is 6,000 words, but in most cases, students are being required to do up to 5,000 words per assessment for the assessment that actually can be quantified in terms of the number of words. With the data analysis project, I think the maximum limit is 15 pages, because some of the presentation is just tables and graphs and figures. Okay, so there are 3 exit awards offered on this course. So obviously you are going to be enrolled for the MSc in International Development, and you're expected to complete 180 credits, unless you've been exempted because of recognition for your prior learning. You have to complete the 180 credits. So it's the 4 modules of 30 credits each, and the dissertation module. The dissertation module is 60 credits. However, if you have to exit before completing your 180 credits, you can be awarded the postgraduate certificate in international development if you've completed the 60 credits, or the postgraduate diploma if you've completed the 120 credits. That is, completed all the modules with the exception of the dissertation. And students who exit and maybe at a later point actually want to come back to complete, that is also possible. You can exit and then apply to do your master's. So what it means is you will be exempted from the modules that you took before, and then you just enter at the point where you actually stopped. Okay, so you can just come to say, okay, I completed, I have the diploma, and maybe I suspended, I had to do other things, or maybe I just withdrew, and then I want to come back to complete the MSc. That is possible. You come back and then you just do the dissertation and then be offered your master's. Okay, so the awards are classified as a merit or a distinction. So you'll be given an MSc with merit or postgraduate diploma with merit if the weighted average of all your marks is between 60 to 69, or if you've achieved more than 50% of your relevant credits at 60 or above. Okay, so if for the MSc, it means you have more than 90 credits at 60, between 60 and 69 mark. And for the postgraduate diploma, which obviously is 120 credits, so it means you have more than 60. So it's a bit obviously tricky there. It's not 50, but it's more than. Okay, so it means for the diploma, we're talking about 90 credits. Okay, or maybe everything. And for the MSc, we're talking about maybe 100 or 120 credits or above. And for the distinction, it's the same kind of setup, but you're looking at an average mark of 70 or above, or having achieved more than 50% of the relevant credits at 70 or above. Okay, students are provided with support academically, and also for those that do not have English as their first language, are supported by joining the in-sessional English course. So you're doing the English course together with your other learning. And for some, they can do the English course at the beginning, but there's this one which you can do it together with your learning. In addition to that, we have the learning development tutors that provide support to students by reading their drafts and giving them guidance on how they can frame their writing, how they improve their language to make it more academic, but also issues of referencing. As long as you provide your draft in good time, that is a good way of actually improving on your work before submission. Every student is allocated a personal tutor at the beginning of the academic year, and the personal tutor is there to support the student in issues of personal nature that are challenging, affecting their studies, and more especially where they're in a situation where they can't complete the assessment or submit the assessment on time. It is important that student obviously is in close contact with their personal tutor, always informing them their situation, because the tutor is the one that actually will provide supporting evidence if they have to apply for an extension to the deadline. Okay, so students are encouraged to always make use of their personal tutor to support them in that kind of situation, but also to signpost them to other services. For example, it could be an issue of mental health and well-being, or it could be an issue that they need that extra help that is needed. The personal tutor will actually provide that kind of guidance to the student. Okay, students have several options to provide feedback on the course. Firstly, we do have course representatives at the beginning of each year. We ask for volunteers to be course representative. So this is the student, or if two students, if we happen to have two of them, like a bridge between the fellow students and the academic staff, providing feedback on issues that maybe haven't been resolved during the course of studying, whether with their module coordinator or with the course leader. Although the encouragement that we provide is that students and the course representative should always make sure that if there's any issue throughout the course, they are always contacting the module lecturer and the course leader. And obviously, if anything hasn't been resolved yet, that is when it's important to take it up to the student voice committee. So the student voice committee meets twice a year and provides that feedback as opportunity for students and obviously for the staff to actually learn of any challenges that students are meeting, but also an opportunity to appreciate anything good that is happening for the academic staff to actually continue those good things. There's a formal feedback system through the student surveys that happen at the end of the teaching, which obviously is a good way of making improvements for the next year. But as you can see, it's happening at the end of your teaching, so not necessarily something that will actually help at the particular point in time, but informing the improvements for the next year. Okay, so as I said, there's continuous support from the module coordinators, who should be used all the time, immediately, so that students make full benefit of them and don't have issues that are unresolved until the end of the year. Okay, so to finish off, I want to talk about the career preparation. So we do provide opportunities to students to enroll on volunteering programs, but also internship programs. So the Rewire internship program is also on a voluntary basis, and So is the UN Online Volunteer Program. So basically, you just sign up. This just provides you with that opportunity of getting to know the kind of work that the UN does. The Rewire internship is a communication-based company, but that is working with NGOs. So they're working with institutions that are actually working within the international development sector. So it will be a good way of introducing yourself to that kind of work, learning what those other institutions actually are doing, improving your CV. The Young African Leaders Initiative, as the title shows, is basically focused on training on young Africans who are actually thinking of becoming leaders. So they provide you with leadership skills. There's the Ashinaga Internship Program, an English teaching program. So if you're good with English and you'd like to learn, but also have experience of teaching, the Ashinaga Internship Program conducts these teaching programs in Japan and in Uganda. So it's a good way of yourself getting the skills, but also getting to learn new places. In addition to those initiatives that are available and the volunteering kind of internships, the Career Services Department, but also the Placement and Internship Center at University of Portsmouth does provide the guidance which you may require. So basically, whether it's CV writing, how to conduct yourself for employment or interviews, those are the people to contact, so they're available. They also do some occasional sessions where students are invited to attend. Okay, so basically that is what I wanted to share in relation to the MSc International Development course at University of Portsmouth. And if you do have any more questions, feel free to email me, or I will respond to your email. And if there's need, we can actually arrange to talk face-to-face via Zoom. Thank you.